They were not defeated on the battlefield in that moment. Not yet. They were still soldiers of a collapsing empire, still believing the war could somehow be turned around. But then the train began to slow down, and one by one the German prisoners of war looked out through the small barred windows. What they saw outside did not look like a country at war. It did not look like a nation on the edge of collapse or exhaustion. It looked like something far more unsettling. It looked like a system that never stopped moving. Factories burned with light in the distance. Endless rows of buildings stretched across the horizon. Trains moved in every direction, carrying steel, fuel, and supplies without pause. Trucks filled the roads. Machines echoed through the air. And everything was in motion. In that moment, something inside those men began to change. Not their bodies, not their situation, but their belief. Because they had expected destruction, fear, and chaos. Instead, they saw order, expansion, and something they had not prepared for: overwhelming industrial power. Their journey had begun days earlier across the Atlantic Ocean. Packed into transport ships, guarded and silent, the prisoners crossed a vast stretch of water, not knowing what awaited them. Some believed they were being taken to harsh camps. Others thought they would be used for punishment. A few still believed Germany might somehow reverse the war before anything permanent happened to them. But when they finally reached America, nothing matched their expectations. There were no ruined ports, no burned cities, no starving civilians, no sense of panic in the air. Instead, there was movement everywhere. Cranes lifted steel into the sky. Ships were loaded and unloaded with mechanical precision. Workers moved with purpose. And above all, there was calm efficiency, as if the war existed somewhere far away, not here. Then came the trains. For days, they traveled inland, and through every small window, the same impossible reality repeated itself. Factories, rail yards, highways, industrial cities that seemed endless, fields that stretched beyond imagination, and most disturbing of all, nothing looked broken. In Germany, by this point in the war, everything meant danger. The sound of engines meant air raids. The sky meant bombing. The ground meant scarcity. But in America, engines meant production. The sky was empty, and the land was alive with industry. One prisoner would later describe it as looking at a country that had never learned how to stop growing. Because even in the middle of war, nothing looked tired. Nothing looked weakened. Everything looked like it was building something. Slowly, without anyone saying it out loud, the realization began forming inside those train cars. This was not just a nation. It was a machine built for output, for scale, for repetition. And then they saw the factories more clearly. When they were finally moved closer to labor areas and industrial zones, the truth became impossible to ignore. American production was not occasional. It was constant. It never paused. It never slowed down. It operated like a living system that fed itself. Steel went into one side of a building and came out as finished weapons on the other. Tanks, aircraft, trucks, engines. Everything being built in numbers that did not feel real to men who had come from a collapsing industrial war economy. What shocked them most was not just the size of it, but the rhythm. Loss meant nothing here. If something broke, it was replaced. If something failed, 10 more were already on the way. If something was destroyed, it was rebuilt faster than it had been lost. One German prisoner reportedly said that in Germany, every machine felt precious, as if it could not be replaced. But in America, machines felt temporary, replaceable, almost disposable. And that difference alone changed how the war looked in his mind. At first, many prisoners refused to fully accept what they were seeing. It was easier to believe it was exaggerated, or propaganda, or simply luck. But the evidence kept appearing in every direction. Trains arriving constantly, ships leaving daily, vehicles being produced without pause, fuel and food arriving in abundance, entire supply chains operating like a single coordinated system. And the most disturbing part of all was not what was present, but what was absent. There was no visible exhaustion, no sign that the system was struggling. Instead, it looked like it was expanding while fighting a global war that created a fear no battlefield experience could produce. Because on a battlefield, a soldier fights another soldier. But here, there was nothing to strike, nothing to destroy that would matter for long. Everything was part of something larger. One prisoner eventually understood it in simple terms. They were not fighting an army anymore. They were fighting capacity. Inside the camps, days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Outside, the war in Europe began to collapse. Germany retreated on every front. The Eastern Front disintegrated. The Western Front broke open. Cities were bombed. Supply lines failed. Fuel disappeared. And the system that once seemed powerful began to fracture. But inside America, nothing changed in appearance. The factories still ran. The trains still moved. The production never stopped. And that contrast created something quiet but powerful inside many prisoners. Doubt. Not dramatic, not sudden, but slow and unavoidable. Some stopped talking about victory. Others stopped believing in return. Some simply watched in silence as the world they had been told about no longer matched the world in front of them. Because it was not one moment that broke their confidence. It was repetition, day after day, of seeing the same truth. That Germany was shrinking while America was expanding. A soldier can understand defeat on a battlefield. He can understand being outnumbered. He can understand losing position, losing ground, losing battles. But it is harder to understand losing against something that never stops producing. Because how do you defeat something that replaces what you destroy faster than you can destroy it? By 1945, Germany was collapsing in full view of the world. Cities were in ruins. The Eastern Front had turned into disaster. The Western Allies were advancing into German territory. And inside the camps in America, prisoners began receiving fragments of news that confirmed what many had already suspected. The war was ending, not in debate, but in reality. For some prisoners, this was not a shock. It was confirmation of what they had already seen through train windows and factory fences months earlier. They had already understood the imbalance. They had already seen the scale of production. They had already realized what kind of war they were actually in. Because it had never been just soldiers against soldiers. It had been systems against systems. And one of those systems had been built for endurance across continents, oceans, and industries. The other had not. When Germany finally surrendered, the moment did not feel like a sudden collapse for many of the prisoners in America. It felt like the final page of something they had already read halfway through. The uniforms still remained. The memories still remained. The losses could not be erased. But the belief that the war could still be won had already disappeared long before the official end. Because in the quiet moments behind the wire, they had already seen the truth. Not through propaganda, not through speeches, not through orders or ideology, but through factories. Endless, glowing, unstoppable factories. And that memory stayed with them long after the war ended. Not as a symbol of fear alone, but as a lesson that would be impossible to forget. That modern wars are not decided only by courage on the battlefield. They are decided by production, by scale, by systems that can sustain themselves long after others begin to fall apart. And for the German prisoners who saw it firsthand, the war was not lost in a single battle. It was lost the moment they understood what they were truly fighting against.